everyone. This is Nitin Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 948. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, and Anchor. We're joined by a really special guest. His name is Glover Quin. He's a former New Mexico NFL safety. He played for the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. He was a Pro Bowler in 2014. And in the same year, he was the NFL interceptions leader. What a great safety, great career. And I'm looking forward to learning more about his story. Now he does some great stuff off the field with his kids, family. And first of all, Glover, I just want to say thank you for joining our show today. It's truly an honor. And we finally made this happen. And how are you and your family doing today?
Oh man, I appreciate you guys having me, man. We're doing good, just getting ready for the holidays, man, and enjoying some time.
Yeah, that's an amazing time of the year, obviously with Christmas coming up and New Year's. But Glover, tell our fans, I want to start off with your childhood growing up. Obviously, you grew up in Mississippi. What was it like growing up there as a kid with your family? And when did you get interested in the game of football?
Growing up in Mississippi was, it was cool. I mean, it's a small town where I was from, out in the country, just being a kid, doing country stuff, running around in the woods, playing with cousins, picking fruit, berries, just getting to really be a kid. You wasn't really influenced. We didn't have social media back when I was growing up and, not living in a big city. So you wasn't really influenced by a lot of other things. It was really just getting a real chance to be a kid. And, I grew up around a bunch of my cousins. So we actually played sports all the time: football, basketball, baseball. So for as long as I can remember, I've been playing football. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, man, I can't ever remember a time, and I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it was a time, but I can't ever really remember a time where I don't feel like I knew how to play football.
Right.
I like from the very beginning that I can remember, I knew how to play. So it's kind of, I don't want to say weird, but it's just kind of, I don't remember those years of like sucking at football or not knowing how to play football, or what I'm saying. It was just kind of like I knew how to run, throw, catch. At least as far as my memory will let me go back.
Yeah, it's like you were born to play football. That's what it is. So, but yeah. So I want to ask you, who did you look up to in the NFL while growing up? So who were the main players that you looked up to?
When I was a little kid, my dad was he was a Washington Redskins fan, so I liked the Redskins, and I used to love watching Darryl Green at the corner, Mark Rippon at the quarterback, and Art Monk and all those guys at wide receiver. And then as I got a little older, I started liking the 49ers. I was a Deion Sanders fan. I was a Jerry Rice fan. Steve Young, Roger Craig, Merton Hanks, all those guys on that San Francisco team. And then I got a little older, and it was kind of like once Deion left, once a couple of the players that I really liked left, I didn't really watch San Francisco that much anymore. I kind of went to, I really liked LaDainian Tomlinson. So I was watching the Chargers a lot. But to just say I had one, like, just, childhood, like, dream or fan guy, I really didn't. I just kind of always liked, good players. I like good football. I like guys that played the game the right way. And like I said, back when I was coming up, we didn't have ability to watch all of the games like you can now. We basically had to watch whatever game was on, regular TV. So there were days where I get to watch Barry Sanders, and then there was days where I didn't. And so you kind of got a chance to see a lot of the different players, but I just never fell in love really with one team that I just stuck with. It was kind of like, I like these players, and I'm still that way to this day. I just like watching good players. I respect good players and guys that play the game the right way, and that's really that's really what I enjoy.
Hmm. Yeah, so speaking of Barry Sanders, obviously a Detroit Lion, great legend, running back, one of the best running backs I ever seen. So for you, what was it what was it like wearing the same uniform as Barry Sanders and living that legacy, wearing the white, blue, and the lion symbol on your helmet?
You know what? It was actually kind of crazy for me at first because, like I said, we really only got a chance to see, the local,
Yeah,
well, not say local, but just whatever game that was coming on regular TV. So every Thanksgiving, the Lions were on TV, and that's one of the biggest, especially where I'm from. That's one of the biggest. When I was a kid, that's like one of the biggest football holidays in the community.
yeah,
All your friends, all your cousins and people come up or come in town because of the holidays, and it's Thanksgiving, and everybody goes outside and plays football. And so getting to see, because the Lions would always come on with the early game, so getting to watch them play, watch Barry Sanders play, and then be able to go outside and try to like play like that. When I got to Detroit and I was actually playing for the Lions on Thanksgiving, it was just kind of like, wow, this has really come full circle. I remember being a kid and like watching the Lions on Thanksgiving, and now I'm actually suiting up for the Lions on Thanksgiving. So it was actually kind of crazy, man. So it's a very crazy feeling, man. And to think about the guys like, like the Barry Sanders that wore their uniform. Um, it's crazy, man. I don't know, man. And I only met Barry. I think probably once or twice.
hmm.
My time there, where I actually got to talk to him, and it still was just kind of like, wow, this is Barry Sanders. So I remember him in Tecmo Bowl and all these different things when I was a kid, and now I'm getting to talk to him. So it was actually, I want to say weird, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, so tell our fans about your college recruitment process. Obviously, you went to New Mexico, and how many offers did you get outside of New Mexico? And did colleges recruit you as a safety or cornerback and safety too?
Um, so coming out of high school, I was getting recruited pretty good by Mississippi State. Um, and I was planning on going there. I was hoping I would get an offer. They were pretty strong on me. But that was the year that Jackie Sherrill stepped down from Mississippi State and Sylvester Croom came in. And so Sylvester Croom's staff didn't recruit me. And, the coach that I had a really good relationship with that was recruiting me at Mississippi State, he ended up taking a job at Mississippi Gulf Coast, which was another junior college in Mississippi. And so when I was coming out, junior colleges had protections basically. So if you lived in a certain area, it's kind of like high school basically. If you lived in a certain area of that junior college or that community college, if you were a good enough athlete, that school, that college could protect you, and you couldn't go to another JUCO in the state and play without getting released. So once I didn't get a chance to go to Mississippi State, I didn't get any other offers from any D1 schools. And so I wasn't going to settle and go D2 or, D1 AA out of high school. So I took the JUCO route, and I went to Southwest Mississippi Junior College right there in Mississippi. For my high school is literally right up the street. We used to call it the 13th grade actually from my high school. But it's a very, very good JUCO at the time. They always had really good players. Mississippi JUCO is really big in itself. We get a lot of players that come from out of state. Obviously, Florida doesn't have junior college football, but they have a ton of athletes. We're right there in the southeastern region, so you get a lot of those players that are at SEC schools or things like that need to come to JUCO to get grades or do whatever. So you get those guys that come through Mississippi JUCO. So it's actually a really good league. So I went to Southwest and played there. My first year, I was starting corner. I got recruited as a corner. And the only reason why I got recruited as a corner is because the coach he wanted me to come in and play. And in JUCO, you only have
Yeah.
freshmen and sophomores. So he had two sophomore safeties already. And so in order for me to come in and play my freshman year, I had to play corner. And in their system, we ran a bunch of cover 2, cover 3, roll cover 2 and stuff like that, roll cover 3. So he was like, your game style, you could play corner for us in our system and you can come in and play as a freshman. And so that's what I did. I went to JUCO as a corner, played there my freshman year. I broke my arm in game 2. So I ended up taking a medical red shirt my freshman year. Then I came back my sophomore year and right before the season started, Hurricane Katrina hit. And so, we dealing with that storm and, we lose out on a couple games. And then I end up hurting my knee during the season. But I finished the season off pretty strong, had 2 interceptions, 1 pick 6. And I was fortunate enough to get invited to the JUCO All-Star game. And I went out to the JUCO All-Star game, man, and really made some noise, made a bunch of plays. I wasn't even playing corner, though, at the JUCO All-Star game. I was kind of playing safety, linebacker, just wanting to go and show that I could play football. And so I ended up getting recruited. New Mexico was interested in me, and I had no idea about New Mexico. Didn't know where they were, didn't know anything about them. But they were interested in me. And so they were a Division I school. So I took note of it, did some research, started looking them up. I saw more stuff for their basketball team than, the football team, but I could still see the school. I was like, okay, this don't look too bad. And so I ended up taking a visit out there. The visit went well. The city was cool. The school was cool. And I was like, man, this is really not bad out here. I didn't know anything about Albuquerque, but I'm like, it's really not bad out here. And so I really wanted to play Division I football. And I had told my mom, my parents and stuff that, I wasn't going to be afraid to leave home to go where I needed to go if I had an opportunity to play Division I football. And so New Mexico gave me that opportunity to offer me a scholarship. And so, I packed up. We drove 16, 17 hours to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they dropped me off. And that was that.
Wow, yeah, what a story there. And before we get to your college career, I want to bring this up. This is really important. You were awarded the U.S. Army Scholar Athlete Award. What is that like, and what does that mean to you?
I mean, it was cool. Anytime you can get any kind of awards, for your academics or your athletics or anything like that, it's always special. When you throw in, higher level awards, state awards, Army, any kind of awards, it's just, feels good to know that, people recognize your talent on the field and off the field, in the classroom, wherever you performing at. It just feels great to know that, your hard work is being noticed, it is being recognized. And you just kind of accept it and you appreciate it. You never take it for granted. And so, when you're in high school and you can get some of those awards, that's kind of like just a good symbolism of like the type of person, the type of career, the type of, whatever you was able to accomplish your years in high school. And now it's time to move on to the next level.
Yeah, so tell our fans, what was it like playing it with New Mexico? What was the experience there? And what was the atmosphere like with the fans?
You know what? It was actually pretty cool. My years in New Mexico, we were actually pretty good. My first year, I think we ended up making a bowl game my first year. We went like 9-3, I think, my second year. My second year, no, that was my third year, actually. My third year, we weren't that great my third year. But we went 2 bowl games, went to New Mexico, the New Mexico Bowl twice. And it's actually, kind of how it is in the Mountain West. You have, basically bowl allocations when you're in smaller conferences. So the champions, whoever won the Mountain West, they always went to like the Vegas Bowl in Vegas. And then we had like a second place, like Poinsettia Bowl or something like that. And it was always out in San Diego. So the second place team would always go to that one, and back then we had TCU, Utah, BYU, a couple bigger schools, big time schools in our conference. So one of those schools would always generally win the conference. The other one would generally get second place and go to the Poinsettia Bowl, it was always either TCU or, if San Diego State was eligible, then, they generally would take that bid. And then we had the Armed Forces Bowl, but any year that Air Force was eligible, they always got the invite to the Armed Forces Bowl. So it really was only one bowl, I think, that anybody else in the conference that was eligible, could get invited to. And so then they end up creating, New Mexico wanted to sponsor and put on a bowl game. And so they created the New Mexico Bowl that they actually still play to this day. And so my first year out there in 2006, we were the first team actually to make it to the New Mexico Bowl. And so we went there. And then my second year, like I said, we were 9-3, but we didn't win the division. We didn't win our conference, and we wasn't in second place. So we ended up taking the New Mexico Bowl again, even though we were 9-3. And we ended up actually playing Colin Kaepernick and Nevada Wolfpack. I think Nevada Wolfpack in that bowl game, and got to win. So it was fun. It was cool, man. The fans were great. Like I said, when you're winning, the fans are gonna come out. They're gonna support the student section. They were dope. I had a great time out there. I had a great time in Albuquerque. Great time on campus. Great time. Playing football there. The memories, the teammates. It was all good.
Yeah. So now moving forward, what was your draft experience like? Tell us. You got drafted in 2009, round 4, pick 112 by the Houston Texans. What was your draft? What was that like? And spending time with your family and getting that name called.
That was I guess it was another surreal feeling too. Going through the draft process, going to New Mexico, and working your way up to get on the draft radar. To where you can be, seen and drafted, going to the combine, going through that experience, all-star games, doing that experience, private workouts. I only had one private workout. That was with New England. I only took one official visit. That was to the Atlanta Falcons. And so I really didn't have any communication with the Houston Texans outside of the typical, call and get information, make sure they got the phone numbers right, asking you basically to fill out a questionnaire about who you are as a person, basically. No real meetings with the Texans. And so, draft weekend come, and I had seen everything from, third round projections, second round projections to 7th round projections, undrafted projections. So I was kind of one of those guys that was kind of like a tweener. I could be a corner, I could be a safety. They didn't really know how fast I was. They could see that I was physical, but I just didn't really know as much. I ran, well at the combine. I showed well, but they just really didn't know for sure. And so the first day of the draft, I think we had a little party at my house. A lot of my cousins, family came over. We cooked, had some fun. And then Sunday morning we get up, and now I'm expecting like, all right, Sunday's gonna be the day. And so we sitting there just watching the draft. It got me. I think it's me, my dad. She was my fiance at the time. She was there. My sister, my best friend. We was all just sitting at my house watching the draft. I think the Texans made a pick in the 3rd round, and then after a pick, I ended up getting a call, and it was the Texans, and they were, just kind of asking me questions, seeing if I was healthy and all those things. And then they were like, we're gonna, we're thinking about drafting you or taking you with our 4th round pick. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like, how would you feel to come to Houston? So obviously I'm answering all those questions happily and, feeling good about it. And so now you got to sit back and wait though for a whole nother round till they get up in the 4th round. So you're hoping that, somebody calls you before then. But if not, you think you got the Texans in your back pocket because, when you're going through the process, you hear so many stories about how guys get calls from a team and a team say that they're going to draft them, but then they don't. They draft somebody else or they trade the pick or all types of things happen. So you kind of, hope that it happens, but you kind of just take it with a grain of salt or whatever. And so I'm just sitting there, and now we get to the fourth round. I'm looking, I'm like, all right, I see the Texans coming up on the clock. Mm-hmm. And they had the 112th pick. And then I look up and I said, oh man, they got the 122nd pick as well. So they had 2 picks in the fourth round. So I'm just like, bro, they got to take me with the first one. Like, it's got to happen. And so I'm sitting there, man, and they're on the clock. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just looking. I'm like, well, I guess, it's probably not going to be. And then I think it was probably about 2.5 minutes left on the clock. My phone started going off. And I answer it. I look at it. It was an 832 number. I answer it. It was I think it was Brian Gardner from the Houston Texans. Said they wanted to draft me, and so I was like, all right, let's go. I was excited. My family was excited. Talking to the coaches. I think Coach Kubiak got on the phone, and I really don't remember much that was said. But it was an exciting time, seemed like for them in their draft room, and it was an exciting time for me at my house. And so it was all smile, all celebration, and, relieved that it had happened. I had actually got drafted, saw my name on the TV. That was crazy. My phone started going crazy. It was just, it was a crazy few hours to say the least, but it was fun. I wouldn't trade that experience for much. So it was exciting times.
Well, yeah. So now once you get into Houston, and obviously I had and you see players like Matt Schaub, Andre Johnson. You play with Mario Williams, Brian Cushion. What a great defense. And I had Matt Schaub on the show last year, and it was an honor talking to him. What a great quarterback. So when you get into the room and you see a player like Andre Johnson, and you go up against him in practices, did he make you a better safety by doing that?
Yeah, well, actually when I got to Houston, they drafted me as a corner. Okay. And so through the process, like I said, when I would talk to the Texans on the informal conversations, like I said, they call all the draft members and, make sure they're still healthy, nobody's gotten injured, things like that. And so when I would talk to the Texans, Coach Perry Carter would call me. And Perry Carter, so I'm from Macomb, Mississippi, Summit, Mississippi, actually. Perry Carter is actually from Magnolia, Mississippi, which is, basically in the same county, right? We went to rival. Well, he went to South Pike High School. I went to North Pike High School. So it's just kind of the same area. And so when he would call me, he would always, kind of pick at me or just kind of joke around, be like, all right, man, if we draft you, you ain't gonna be scared to come in here and cover Andre Johnson or, guys like that, right? You gonna go out and compete, right? And I was like, bro, yeah, man, like I'm gonna go in and play. And so when I actually got to the first day of practice, I think the first person I ended up lining up on was Andre Johnson. And so that was the first thing going through my head, like, oh snap, like this is really Andre Johnson. And I gotta compete because I told them I was gonna compete if they draft me. So I can't be afraid to go against him. And so obviously, early in my career, I definitely lost, a lot of battles against Andre. He's an incredible receiver. But I will say as a corner, he definitely made me better working against him every day because I was starting nickel for our defense, but I was a second string cornerback. So then when we would do scout team, I was working as a corner. So I was going to go against Andre basically a lot as a corner because I was a scout team. And then when we went to starting defense, I would move inside and play the nickel. So it was a little different on the inside, but yes, I definitely enjoyed playing against Andre Johnson. And then obviously when I left Andre, in Houston, I went to Detroit and, got to go against Calvin Johnson. So
Yeah.
really got to experience two of the greatest, receivers that the game has seen. So I definitely was fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, so I'm just curious for you. Obviously, some players struggle with position changing, but for you, how long did it transition for you to be a safety to go to cornerback? Corner, was it an easy transition? Obviously, you see the same field on the side, but how long did it take you to transition from that?
It took me a little time because the game looks different.
Yeah,
You're at corner, you see the game from one side, and you're looking at it from outside in. When you're looking at it from a safety, you're looking at it from the back and you can see everything. And so your angles are different, your play entry is different. When you're a corner, you basically always got the sideline right there. So if they get outside of you, you just got to try to get them out of bounds. And if it's a run play and, certain positions, you don't want to let them get outside. You just try to force it back in. So the linebackers, D lineman, and the safety is going to be involved in the play. So when you go play safety, though, now you're in the middle of the field. It's a lot more space. Just a lot of different angles that you have to learn. Seeing so many different things, seeing the quarterback, seeing the ball, seeing the receiver, seeing tight ends. Making sure your linebackers are, where they need to be in coverage, making sure your corners are, in the right coverage, knowing what we're doing. So it's a little different as a safety. And so it took me a couple games to, really start to feel comfortable with it. But once I kind of got comfortable with just the alignments and the views, it was kind of like my natural, position. And I had always kind of been considered a safety because I wasn't one of the super fast, agile, small type corners. I was always a bigger, more physical corner. So they kind of always felt like I could transition and play safety. And so once I actually got there and started doing it, started seeing it, realized the amount of control that I could have as far as calling the coverages, getting guys in the right coverage, getting guys in the right spot. That was really, what I loved, being able to see things, anticipate things, make calls, and be able to make plays. And so after, a few games, I was more comfortable with it. Obviously, the longer you play it, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you get at it. But the transition wasn't that bad for me.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you played, man, you're a ball hawk. Like I said early in the beginning of the show, you had a great career. You put up great numbers in your career. So, but I want to talk. I want to ask you about the Houston fans. Obviously, they have a great fan base. This team is still growing, obviously. But what do you like about playing in front of those fans in Houston?
Man, I had a blast playing in Houston, man. Houston, Texas, gets such a great rap for football players. When you're in high school and you coming out and you're somebody from Texas, you kind of like, oh, wow, he's from Texas, right? And football is so big in the state of Texas. And so playing for the Texans and getting to experience the fans from that standpoint was crazy, man. Like the excitement. I mean, driving to the stadium, all the people out, the tailgating, like it was a phenomenal experience. And then, like I said, my first 2 years when I was in Houston, my first year we were okay. My second year we wasn't very good, but then my third and my fourth year were the 2 years that we won the division.
Yeah.
And so, I think we went 10-6 in 1 year, 11-4 or 5, I think 12-4 in 2012. And so playing in those big games, selling out the stadiums, man, it was unreal. It was unreal. Great experience for me. I loved it. Like I said, I didn't even want to leave when I was a free agent in 13. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there. I wanted to play there. I wanted to be in the city. But it just didn't work out that way. So I left, but I'm still super, super grateful for the experience that I had and the fans that, I got the experience and, just still show me love from time to time in the city.
And obviously, you got to play with underneath one of the great coaches, Gary Kubiak. And what did you learn from him as a coach? And obviously, Super Bowl winning coach too. So what was it like just learning from him and having him as your coach?
And Coach Kubiak was a really cool guy, man. He was he played the game, so he understood the game from a player's perspective. He understood how to treat his players, how to get the respect of his players. He was a very good offensive minded guy. So obviously he was a quarterback. So getting to learn some of the things, from a quarterback's perspective, what they're looking for, what they're trying to do, how they're trying to attack you, just different things like that, that as a young player in the league that you can pick up on, that you can learn from, that you can be able to take into the games with you to try and, obviously help yourself, make yourself, put yourself in better positions to make plays actually. And so having somebody like that was cool. And, he was a family man. So we used to get out of practices, and you know what, when I was in Houston, honestly, we used to be out of the building by like 2:30, 3:00, going home. So that was a huge thing for me, because some teams, you're there to 6:30, you're there late. So Coach Kubiak was, he was a very good coach for me to come into the league and have, my first 3 or 4 years in the league. So definitely grateful, got to play with him, and he kind of like set the tone for me and what to expect from an NFL coach.
Yeah, like we had Justin Forsett on the show last week, and he mentioned Gary Kubiak as one of the coaches that helped him out throughout his career, and he's well respected in the league, obviously, and what a great coach, and that's what Justin Forsett said. The same thing, like you said, a family man and everything. So man, well respected in the game for sure.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah, so now moving forward to your career, now you go to Detroit as a free agent. You spend 5 years there, and what was that like?
6.
I mean, 6 years. Sorry. Yeah, you played with Matthew Stafford, obviously Megatron, the Hall of Famer now. Reggie Bush, Nate Burleson, Toe Drag Swag. I had him on the show too. And so, what was that like playing in Detroit? And you had a lot of talent on offense and defense, like Steven Bullock, Sue, everyone.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. It was crazy. And like I said, when I was coming to Detroit in 2013 as a free agent, like I said, originally I didn't have Detroit on my radar as a team that I was looking at going to. But I did remember from when I played against Detroit when I was in Houston in 2012. We played them on Thanksgiving. Detroit was that team that had tons of talent, bunch of good players. Like you said, like you mentioned, they had the Sioux, they had Megatron, they had Stafford, they had Louis Delmas, and they had guys that had a bunch of talent, but they just couldn't figure out a way to win. They would always, penalties or discipline things, stuff like that, where you kind of felt like, all right, they're going to play us tough. They're going to be a physical group, but we'll eventually end up winning in the end because of some discipline or just whatever will happen. And so when I actually got there, being able to like play with those guys, be on the same field with those guys, practice with those guys, start talking and having conversation with those guys. They were actually cool guys, they were actually really cool. And good football players. And my first year there, we had Jim Schwartz was our head coach, and we didn't get everything done. We didn't make the playoffs or anything like that. So they ended up firing Jim Schwartz, and they brought in Jim Caldwell. And Jim Caldwell was a great coach, great guy to play for. Could handle the different personalities that we had. They brought in Terrell Austin as a defensive coordinator, and like you said, we already had a bunch of talent, and so. Getting the right system, getting the right coaches, the right atmosphere, the right environment for the guys. We were able to flourish for, a few years and win a bunch of games in Detroit, playing a bunch of big games. We didn't get to win the division, but, played in a couple, winner take all division games in week 17 against Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers. So it was a great run of games, great group of guys, man. Like I said, super grateful for Detroit and the experiences and what I did out there and the people that I got to meet.
Yeah, speaking of Jim Caldwell, he deserves another chance, in my opinion. This guy's been sitting out there for a long time, and no one's giving him a chance. And I think he's a heck of a coach. I don't know why Detroit gave up on him. I think he should. He should still be in Detroit right now as we speak.
No question. I think he definitely should be there. You know, and if not there, he should be somewhere in the NFL. He's actually a phenomenal coach. You know, and he did a great job in Detroit. I think our first year we went 10-6 or something like that under Coach Caldwell, and then I think our second year we might have went 7-9, I think, but we started out like 1-7, right? And then we went 7-9. I think we were making a run to come back and make the playoffs, and then we had the Hail Mary game against Aaron Rodgers. And once we lost that game, that kind of hurt us because then we went to St. Louis. I think that was the last game in St. Louis, and they ended up beating us. But if we'd have beat Green Bay, then we'd have beat St. Louis and went to the playoffs. And so, and then I think we came back and had 2 9-7 seasons back to back. And so, you get fired because, they felt like 9-7 wasn't getting it done, wasn't, good enough. You wasn't doing whatever. But in the league, man, there's been 9-7 teams that won Super Bowls. Yeah. I think the Giants were 9-7 when they won a couple times, you know what I'm saying? So, you're only going to have a few teams that's going to be at the top of the top, that's winning 11, 12, 13 games out of the year. There's going to be a lot of teams battling to win, 9, 10 games. And so, the difference in 9-7 and 10-6 is like 2 plays, if that, so being 9-7 isn't the worst thing, as long as you're continuing to get better and you hit your stride and peak at the right time. You know what I'm saying? I know, as fans, they'll be like, oh, why would you want to settle for being 9-7? Yeah, because everybody can't be 13-3. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather be 9-7 than 4-12, or well, I guess they got 17 games now. So, whatever the records would be. And 9-7 year in and year out gives you an opportunity to get it into the playoffs. And like I've said, once you get into the playoffs, who knows what could happen? Anything is possible. You get hot at the right time. Some team don't play well on a given day, and you win and you move on. The next thing you know, you look up, you're in the conference finals, and you're playing to go to the Super Bowl. And anything is possible in those games. You got great players that are actually playing great at the time. That's why they're in that moment. So once you get to the playoffs, nobody really cares if you're 17-0 like the Patriots were that year, or 16-0, or you're 9-7. It's just, hey, this is who we got to play right now, and whoever plays the best today, that's who's going to win. Don't mean that they're the best team, but they are the best today, and that's what matters in playoff football.
Yeah, so speaking of your division, obviously you competed, you played against the Vikings, Packers, Bears, and what was it like playing against the Packers, man, and going up against Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks there in the league right now, and his throws are like effortless.
Yeah, man, A-Rod was tough. He was good. He was one of the toughest quarterbacks because he could run. He can make every throw. Like you said, it makes it look effortless. He can, put the ball wherever he want to put it. But he also can run. So, there's times where you got guys covered, and so he has nowhere to throw it, but then he just runs and get the first down. So it's a tough challenge trying to do enough to cover his receivers, but also do enough to where he don't just take off running on you. And so getting to play against him, twice a year, especially up in Green Bay, Lambeau Field, it was tough. But, those are the things that you want. Those are the things that that make you great. You got to go against those guys. When I was young in Houston, it was Peyton Manning in our division. And then obviously you go to Detroit, and now you got to go against Aaron Rodgers and I'm sure the teams in the East were saying the same thing, having to go against Tom Brady, and
Yeah.
the teams in the South, you got to go through Drew Brees. It's just the way the game is. You have so many great players that play the game, and it's an honor to go against those guys and compete against those guys. You see it. Even just looking at the Bucks against the Saints, like just last night. When those guys are making plays, they're competing against Tom Brady, man. And so when you get to finally, win or make plays or do whatever against those type of guys, it's fun. It's all competitive. It's no disrespect to those guys. You always respect the greats that play our game. But when you're out there playing, you're competing and you're trying to do whatever you got to do to help your team win. And so that's how it was. And so playing against Aaron Rodgers, you respect him. He's a tough out, but you got to do whatever you got to do to try to get the win. And when you make plays on him, you celebrate for sure.
Yeah, yesterday was a weird game, and that was the first time in 15 years that Tom Brady got shut out, and I was so surprised that he couldn't get anything going against the Saints. And what a weird game yesterday. But I want to ask you about, obviously you played against Peyton Manning, and obviously he was in the same Hall of Fame class with your former teammate Megatron. What was it like seeing both of them get enshrined on the same class, and did you reach out to both of them after?
I didn't reach out to Peyton Manning. I don't have it like that. But I did congratulate Calvin and all those things beforehand. I know after, and I sent them some messages and stuff afterwards. But I'm sure during that time it's just a whirlwind, of people and stuff like that. So, but for me, I'm just when you see stuff like that, you're just thankful and blessed to be able to sit back and be like, wow, man, like Calvin Johnson is going into the to the Hall of Fame, and like that's my homie, like that was my teammate. You know what I'm saying? Like Peyton Manning is going into the Hall of Fame, and like, man, I played against Peyton Manning. I intercepted Peyton Manning, like all those different things. You know what I'm saying? So when you get to see that, it's just like it's like a surreal moment. You know what I'm saying? Just like, wow, like those guys are going into the Hall of Fame, man. And they were all great guys off the field, at least to me. But just to be able to tell my kids the stories and show them pictures and different things that, yeah, daddy was out there with those guys that's going down as one of the greats. Daddy was out there with them and made plays on both of them.
Yeah.
And so it was good. Happy for those guys.
Yeah, so obviously you got to play against a lot of great wide receivers in the league, even tight ends. But I want to get to one player that we recently lost, Demaryius Thomas, RIP. What a devastating story. And obviously you got to play against him. So what was it like going against him? And just explain some of the experiences or battles you had with him, Demaryius Thomas.
Well, Demaryius Thomas, obviously come from Georgia Tech. So he was I mean, you could say he was a baby Megatron, basically.
Yeah.
He's a big physical specimen. Fast, strong, could basically do anything on the football field that you needed him to do. And so it was always tough battles. I remember playing against him in Houston. It was always tough battles. And as a football player, when we come into the NFL, we compete with each other, and I didn't know him personally, but you compete with each other, you know each other through football, but you're all a fraternity of men that, have the honor of wearing the NFL badge, the NFL shield, and so when you lose a brother, you lose somebody like that, it's always tough. I mean, it's, being 33,
Yeah.
being young, a lot of life to live, and, for it to happen, it's always tough. It's sad. And, you just, pray for the family and, you just kind of keeping, in your thoughts, man. And, you just have to cherish each and every day, because you just never know when it's over with. And, when you are, out of the NFL and you are retired, keeping in touch with some of those guys, because you just never know what guys are dealing with, and how they're, coping and whatever with life after football, because it is different. And so it's tough, man. It's a sad moment, for sure.
Yeah. So now, looking at your career, obviously transitioning from off the field now, and this is a two-part question. So what's it been like for you sharing your stories and your experiences of your career and your journey on like these platforms, these podcasts? And obviously I've seen a couple of your other interviews. You were on my friend's show, Global Kid Media, last year. And so what's that been like for you sharing your stories on platforms like these, and now seeing your kids playing sports?
Oh, it's been cool, man. I love stories. I love hearing stories. I love to tell, my story, because, everybody's story is different. Everybody, took a different route to get, where we are. And I feel like you can always learn something from somebody else's story, regardless of what it is. You can learn something. So I love to hear other people's stories. That's why when I was doing, my podcast, I was trying to interview, guys, so we can hear your story, man. So you can, inspire the next kid, answer questions that, maybe people want to know that, never got a chance to ask, just all types of different things. And so then for me, when I get to tell my story, I always enjoy telling my story, because nobody can tell my story the way I can tell my story, because I experienced it. I know all the details, at least from my perspective, inside and out. And so it's been cool getting to, transition out and try to help the next group of kids, man. And, having my own kids, playing sports and being able to be, a part of their journey and help them in every way. I got nephews that are football players. One of them is a baseball player, and, so it's been fun for me, just being able to step out of the major spotlight, but still be able to reach out to people, still be able to impact people, coach, do all these different things, man, that, it's fun, and that's what life is about, being able to enjoy some of your success and inspire, the next wave of people, and actually be happy for them. I think sometimes, we don't see that very often. People, I don't know, it seems like they get upset or they're sad, when somebody comes up and they're better than you. And I'm like, that's what the game is supposed to be, because the things that they're seeing you do, or the things that you're teaching them, are things that you learn throughout all your years. So they don't have to deal with a lot of the things that you had to deal with as you were learning, because you're going to teach them the end result of what you figured out. And so after, if I'm teaching my son something as a 10-year-old that I learned as a professional at 32, what I will hope by the time he's 32 and, for 20 years, that he would be a lot better at it than I was. So that's what I enjoy, and that's really what I do. I haven't really done that much podcasting this year.
Right.
Been a lot going on, but I'm back, getting back into it. So it'd be fun to go into 2022 and be able to get back in front of the camera and do interviews, take interviews, tell my story, put other people's story out there, and just keep putting good content, good positive stuff out there, because man, it's crazy right now, man. So we need to hear as much positivity as we can.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm grateful that you were able to come on our show, and and your story is amazing and good to share on this platform. And I want to ask you a couple more things before I let you go. And what are your thoughts so far on this NFL season, and obviously 17 games? The Detroit, man, all of a sudden winning games. And actually yesterday, I had my upset pick. I picked the Lions over the Cardinals, and look what happened. They beat the Cardinals yesterday, so I got the money. So for you, what's your thoughts so far in this year's NFL season?
It's been a crazy year, I mean, and you know it was gonna be that way, obviously, with COVID, teams changing, guys healthy, unhealthy, in and out of the lineup, things like that. The different things that they have to go through each and every day, probably with testing and all that stuff, all the challenges. Yeah, you add another game. I know while I was playing, they were talking about that, and the players never really wanted to go for it, but I'm sure for them to agree to it, it must have had to do something with, money or good benefits or something for the players and for them to agree to go on to 17 games. And so that adds another dynamic to it. And, as players, we always adjust, and so for me, it's been crazy because I really haven't had a lot of time. And it's weird that I say that, but I really haven't had a lot of time to just sit down and watch full games of football because, my kids play football this season. And I was a coach, so every Monday night we had football practice. So by the time I would get home and, get baths and fed or whatever, the Monday night football game is almost going off because we didn't get out of practice until like 8:30.
Wow.
And so, that was tough. And then on Sundays, kids having baseball practice and things like that, that's taken up all of our Sundays. We had football practice on Thursdays, games on Saturdays. So just seeing college football, it's been tough. I've seen some, halves, quarters here. But I think this past weekend was literally, I think, my first weekend not having any sporting event or some type of event the whole football season. So it was cool to sit down and get to catch some games and actually watch for a change. But it's been a crazy year just from the highlights, the different storylines, the teams, the records and things like that. It's been a crazy year. The Lions got off to a rough start. Obviously, not winning a lot of games early on in the season, losing some tough games, close games, playing hard. And, when you see stuff like that as a coach, you keep pounding and, you expect and hope that at some point it's going to click and, you win a couple of games. And so for them to get a big win like that yesterday, they got maybe 3 games left. The best thing that you can do in a season like this is really finish the season off strong, finish off with, 3 wins or 2 out of the 3 games, get wins, take that energy and that momentum over into the off season and hopefully have a great off season and come back next year ready to start off better.
Yeah, Jared Goff has a chance to do something special with Detroit, and what a great person to learn from with Mark Burnell, who's coaching there too. And I think this Detroit team is on the rise, and I think Jared Goff fits perfectly what Detroit is trying to do. He's still young, trying to prove everybody wrong, and like I said, something special can be brewing in Detroit pretty soon. But I want to ask you. Speaking of coaching for yourself, what's that been like for you coaching your own kids and other younger kids? And it's all about the youth now. So what's that been like for you coaching?
It's been fun, man. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed, teaching the kids the game of football, teaching them how to play the game the right way, teaching them what really matters. When you're playing football and you're on a team and you're trying to win and you're trying to do things like it was a lot of fun to me, and the kids had a blast. They listened, they had fun, they came to practice, and we ended up winning the Super Bowl this year. And so that was a lot of fun, man, to be able to give kids that experience of what it's like to be a winner. Even though you're 11, 12 years old, winning a Super Bowl is still winning a Super Bowl for them. You know, they putting in the work. They playing the games, they're winning the games, and you know, they're getting that major accomplishment. So it was just great to be a part of, and you know, to really impact some of those kids' lives, and for them to be able to see that, you know, you can play the game of football the right way and really be good. You know, you're already an athletic player, you're already, you know, good, but if you get taught the right way to do it at a young age, you can be really good. And so the kids really bought into it. And, you know, it opened up my eyes to myself and coaching. And, you know, I've always felt like I could coach and, you know, do those things. But it really opened up my eyes a little more to really think more about getting into it at, you know, at some type of level. You know, I wish I can get into it at the high school level. But I don't want to teach a class. So I just want to coach. I just want to coach the guys, man. And, you know, but I know college is a lot. It's a big commitment. NFL coaching is a big commitment. And like I said, I really like the youth. I really like, you know, being able to impact those guys and teach those guys. So hopefully at some point I can figure out a way to get into some high school stuff. But coaching was fun. I will say that.
Yeah, congrats to you and your kids on winning the Super Bowl. That's a amazing thing to see, especially for kids winning a championship early and what it takes to win a title. And congrats to you guys.
Right. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So before we get to the last two things, I gotta add, I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, and we have a guy named Travion Diggs on the team, and this guy is a ball hawk. Is balling this season, 10 interception in 13 games. He has a chance to do something special. He has a chance to pass Everson Walls, a former Dallas Cowboy. So what are your thoughts on this guy? And do you think we could put the Diggs Island on yet or not yet? Still early.
You know what? He's having a phenomenal year. You know, I mean, to start out on a stretch like he did, I think he went probably 6 or 7 picks or 7 or 8 picks in, like, you know, 7 games or something like that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. You know, the thing is, what's tough, right? This is what's tough as a player, because you see those numbers and those are phenomenal numbers, and then as a player you start to wonder, like, how do you get like numbers like that?
Yeah.
Because when you're really playing great, a lot of times the quarterbacks don't even throw your way. So it's crazy to me that the quarterbacks are still like throwing his direction. You know what I'm saying? For him to even have that many opportunities to make that many plays, right? So that's what's crazy. But he's making them pay, and you got to give him credit for it. I mean, 10 interceptions, that's a lot, you know, regardless of whatever. I mean, that's a lot of interceptions. And so you know, as a former defensive back, you got to be happy, you got to be proud that he's doing that. You know, I don't know if he's a rookie, he's a second year guy, but been a younger guy. You know, it's good to experience success when you're young like that. But one thing I used to always tell players, you know, the hardest thing for me that I thought in the NFL was to do it again, right? So to have that type of success, definitely should be, you know, Pro Bowler, definitely should be All Pro, definitely should be in the Defensive Player of the Year category, all those different things that come with having a great season. And then you hopefully he can take that and not rest on it and go into the off season and have a big off season and come back next year and back it up with another, you know, 7 or 8 interceptions, and really cement himself as a, you know, premier defensive football player.
Yeah, I mean, he plays like a receiver, like his brother Stephon Diggs, and one of these days, I want to see the NFL put a Cowboys Bills primetime matchup, Stephon Diggs versus brother Travion Diggs. That's gonna be so much fun. I'm hoping the NFL does that sometime, because I think that's everybody gets their popcorn ready for that, because I think that matchup would be awesome. But
Oh yeah.
outside of him, what other defensive backs do you like to watch right now?
You know what, man? You know, I'm gonna be super honest. You know, I love my bros, man. I mean, I played a lot of games, a lot of years with Darius Slay.
Yeah.
And so I like to watch Slay plays, you know, playing phenomenal this year. One of the premier lockdown corners. Another guy that I had when I was in Detroit, Quandre Diggs,
Yeah.
you know, what he's doing in Seattle. You know, love watching those guys play. And, you know, lucky for me, I think Quandre is on maybe tomorrow. I think both of them may be on tomorrow. Are
Oh,
the Eagles on today?
I
Are the Eagles on today? Because the games got postponed, I think, yesterday.
I gotta check.
I think Seattle is on tomorrow. The
Uh,
Eagles might be on tomorrow as well.
oh, today's Bears Vikings, I think.
Bears, Vikings, and the Browns and the Raiders
Okay, yeah.
today.
Oh, Browns and Raiders are playing right now. Yes.
Yeah. And tomorrow
There's Eagles
we
and
got
Washington tomorrow.
yeah, and then the Seahawks and the
Seahawks Rams.
Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So be exciting. That's who I like watching, you know. But I mean it's a bunch of ton of great DBs that you're seeing out there. I mean you look at, you know, last night, Marshawn Lattimore had a big
Yeah.
game, you know, last night. You know, Joe Hayden came back yesterday, had a big game in Pittsburgh. I mean, you just see guys, you know, all over the league. You know, the young guy in Detroit is having an incredible year. You know, I don't want to mess up his name, but I know his first name is Money. I can't say his last name, but you know, I think he caught his sixth pick yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot of good players out there, man. It's a lot of good guys out there. That's what the league is, man. It's just a lot of great players, man. And so many guys, you know, get overlooked because so many guys are just that great. And so I love to watch good football. I just love to watch guys that play the game the right way and play with good energy. You know, Aaron Donald is always fun to watch for me, even though he's a D lineman. I just love watching good football. And so I will say though, you know, if I got to choose, I'm gonna watch my homies. Shout out to my bros, D Slay, Quandre Diggs.
You're gonna reach out to both of them before game time?
Yeah, we're definitely in a group, so I definitely probably hit them up tomorrow, tonight, sometime, and
Hmm.
you know, see how they feeling.
Yeah, so the last two things here before I let you go, and our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. Obviously, you know him, former NFL coach. He's now the head coach for Grambling State University, and he used to be the offensive coordinator with Tennessee State. So we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe. It's still horrible out there what we're seeing, and we'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
All right, cool, man. Appreciate that. Definitely send that over. I'll check it out.
Yeah. And the last thing here, what do you like to say? Anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
Man, I just want to say, man, I really definitely appreciate you guys. I know it's it's crazy right now. It's tough, you know, obviously with the COVID, with the new variant Omicron, and you know now it's flu season.
Yeah.
You know, dealing with so many different things, and you guys being on the front line each and every day um, is definitely incredible. And you know, we appreciate you guys. You know, we thank you guys. Your hard work does not go unnoticed, and so you guys are in our prayers constantly, hoping that you guys stay safe so that you can continue to try to keep as many people safe and healthy as you can. So you guys are the real MVPs. You guys are incredible, and so we just wish you well in this holiday season with your families and just good safety and good health as you continue to deal with, you know, everything else that's going on.
Yeah, well said. And before we close this out, would you like to plug your podcast or so people, so our fans, where can they find you in your podcast?
Oh man, so you know what? I was doing the DB room, and it's kind of where I was doing my podcast, and I took a break, but I'm setting back up, and yeah, I'm gonna come back, and probably gonna be a little different, but it's gonna be revamped. But I'm 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 ready to get back front of the camera and start talking and doing some different things. And so right now I'm on Instagram, obviously, Glover Quin. It's not my podcast yet, but you can find out a lot of stuff about me on there. I got the DB Room Instagram page that I'll probably fire back up. You can follow that. I got back on Twitter.
Yeah.
Glover Quin Jr. on Twitter. Not verified yet though, but
Hey,
I'm
that needs
back
to
on.
happen. That needs to happen ASAP.
It'll get there, man. It'll happen. Whatever. But yeah, that's really it. You know, I got a TikTok, but I don't do that much on TikTok. I have fun. But yeah, man, you can follow me on Instagram, and I got a couple other things I'm gonna be rolling out in 2022. A couple of things that I've been working on and really taking an interest in, and so just follow me on IG, and you'll get all the info.
Yeah, so there it is. Breaking news: Glover Quin coming back in the podcast game. So that wraps up episode 948 with former NFL safety cornerback Glover Quin, who played for New Mexico for college, Pro Bowler, NFL interceptions leader in 2014. What a great story! Truly an honor to have him on the show today. Thank you again, and we would like to have you back on the show at some point down the line so you can meet the full team. But keep up the great work. Good luck to your kids the rest of the way, and congrats on winning that championship. And thank you again.
All right, man. No problem, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.